Excited as I am?
I'm very excited.
He's so excited
Let's
all
bring on
day.
our act.
Okay,
All right.
you know what to do. Make them feel welcome, so start applauding, start cheering.
Bring it on. Come on stage, Holly.
Yeah.
I couldn't get to choose where you want to sit.
We let you choose it. Everyone goes to
Really? Yeah, I know there's a lot of choice.
yeah, everyone goes.
You did that like how a pet does at home, where they make themselves comfortable and turn in a little.
Yeah.
So it was nice.
I have two. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, just it's yours now. The
Thank you.
sofa's yours.
Yeah.
My throne.
How are you doing?
Good. I'm well. Thank you.
Having a nice time in Belgium?
I am actually. Yes.
It's lovely, isn't it?
It is. It's a little rainy, but I appreciate that.
Welcome to Europe.
Thank you. Welcome to weather. We don't have that in Los Angeles. We don't.
Come to England, where our rain comes down over the course of 4 weeks. It's horrible.
Yeah, it's just nice for us to be in Brussels.
Yeah. We've asked everyone, is it your first time in Brussels?
It is my first time.
Oh, a lot of first timers.
Yes.
Oh, nice. Have you managed to explore yet?
I haven't got to really yet. Hopefully I have a little bit of time left, so I'll be able to do that. I'm open to any suggestions.
Oh, bear that in mind, because we'll come to the audience at the end of this. So
Yeah.
if anyone has any suggestions, we're going to get them from you.
Is TripAdvisor in?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what you do. You ask the
Well,
locals.
because you did a reality road trip show, didn't you?
I did.
In the States.
Yes.
And everyone got to vote on what you should do.
Yes, which I
on the
thought was a
website.
terrible idea.
But now we're going to recreate it here.
I know.
Road trip Brussels.
It's different when no one is filming it.
Yeah.
There is that.
I'm going to say this as a country. I come from England, and giving the public a choice on your fate.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Get off with her head. Off with her head.
What was the best place they sent you on your trip?
You know, I liked Florida the most because we got
really?
to do the most environmental stuff, and we got to do the sea turtles, got to fly in planes over the ocean and look for sharks and turtles and stuff like that. So,
amazing.
Yeah.
Are
It's
you
my favorite
big
part.
into environment and animals?
I am. I think it's important. I think it's important for all of us, and I seem to be quite obsessed with it lately. So, yes, it's definitely become my foremost passion, I think.
Yeah, good. I think it's nice. It's good that it's on the forefront of people's minds.
Finally.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Is there anything? Because I've started using a Keep Cup for coffee.
good,
so I'm not
good.
using all the
Yeah.
little things. Do you have a little thing you've started doing as your?
I do. You know,
Yeah.
what's crazy is what's driving me nutty, and this is going to now be other people's obsession, but I keep looking at these little pieces of plastic in like packagings and all these little pieces, and I go, where do they go?
Oh, you mean like the
The little tiny
microcrystals and things
No,
like
the
that?
micro things, and then like if you buy a pair of earrings, there's a piece of plastic on the
Yeah.
back of it.
Yeah,
And I go,
yeah.
where do these things go?
Yeah, in the action figures that you buy in the
Yes.
boxes. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess the environmental thing to do is just not take it out of its box.
Right.
Yeah, that's
What I
your
do
big
with my
environment
action
solution.
figures.
I don't think this is the sort of environment that they keep their action figures in a box.
Of course you
What?
do. That's how you're supposed to keep them. But no, so what I've begun to do, because I'm so crazy obsessed with it now, and my children are watching me in the kitchen just go, what is she doing? But I'll take all these little pieces and I'll put them in a bigger plastic bottle, and I'll keep them all together in this magnificent like junk collection of plastic until I can take it to recycling, and hopefully they recycle the whole thing.
Yeah.
They probably don't, because they throw it out as some crazy lady's trash. But
Sell it as art. It's
Yeah.
Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Yeah, just put a price tag on that.
True.
I reckon there's some people here
True.
I'm pretty sure would buy your trash.
Depends on what's in it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's driving me nutty.
Have you always, is this something you found is a recent thing, your interest, or has it always been you've had an interest in the environment?
No, I wanted to be a marine biologist when I was
wow.
a teenager, and I started scuba diving when I was 13, and then because my family didn't have a lot of money, I had the choice to either work in this business or go to school, and unfortunately it came down to working because it made more money and didn't cost money like school did.
Yeah.
So it's kind of come full circle in a way.
Yeah.
Where because I'm doing or did what I did before, I can now talk about these things and come up here and talk about plastic.
Yeah, but it's like
That's
it's
what
a really
everybody wants to hear about.
It's a good way of using your power.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think of all the ways to use power.
Right.
Yeah, you're the right person.
Yeah. Yep.
Because you've obviously. 'Cause I need to ask, how did you get into it in the first into acting and everything? What was the?
My mom wanted to be an actress, and she wasn't liking it very much. And she used to drag me along to auditions with her, and apparently I was giving her a lot of advice on how to be better at it.
How old are you at this point?
She says 8, but so I don't remember it. But yeah, she could be totally lying. But that was the story that she sold me, and sells a lot of people actually still. So yeah, it was her fault. She likes to take credit for it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what, you've got children?
I do.
So I'm sure you like to take credit for whenever they do something good.
I don't. I pretend like I don't know them. I'll be like, that kid, I've never seen him before in my life.
Excuse me, officer, this child keeps calling me mum.
Dude, this child keeps following me around the store, and I can't get rid of him.
Why are you doing this to me?
It's true.
Mom, stop leaving your bottle of plastic with me.
Yeah. I have some plastic pieces for you. Of course you do.
So when's that switch? When do you go from this person who wants to do things like marine biology, when does the acting start coming? Is that a gradual thing, or is it suddenly, oh, this is what I do?
It got to a point where, I couldn't be the kid actor anymore. I had to be like the grown-up adult actor, and they expect more from you then.
What?
Yeah. So I had to decide if I was going to be good at it or try harder or be more invested. And I did. And then, picket fences came along at sort of that time where I had to make that decision where it was going to be like a lifelong investment for me, and couldn't go to college at the time. So I was surrounded, thankfully, by really good actors, by Tom Skerritt and Kathy Baker and Ray Walston, Fivish Finkel, and the list goes on and on and on. And they really made me a better actor just by being in their presence. So
were you one of those actors that essentially you figured it out on the job, you didn't have training, or did you do stuff at school? Or?
Right. I didn't like acting classes.
Oh, really?
I really didn't like them. When I was younger, my mom put me in commercial classes as to try and be like the bubbly, young, commercial selling.
That's where the money is.
Apparently. I didn't make that money.
Yeah.
And it was just so painful to me because I was a very serious and dark child to try and sell toothpaste. I couldn't do it. I wasn't good at it.
You know what though, now that I look back through Charmed, I see that coming through all the time.
All the time.
Yeah. Is she doing a subtle thing about toothpaste?
Yeah, it was not for me.
I'd love to be that person who goes back through Charmed just to find that one shot of you suddenly going to camera like, just and no one really catches it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely there. It's somewhere in the archives.
So what was the first role you landed then?
My very first role, I was an extra for forever. I was an extra in movies. I did do a few commercials. The first movie I did was called Sweetheart's Dance with Susan Sarandon and Elizabeth Perkins and Jeff Daniels. So again, I was around much better actors than myself.
Never heard of them.
And I was lucky enough to have a training ground where people were always better than me around me, and it made me sort of step up to their level, and they taught me a few tricks. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's interesting because we speak to a lot of people, and a lot of actors come on and they always mention that they were around other people, and it's almost like it's a strange thing because you're all obviously on that level to be on those sets, but no one ever
Nobody
thinks
because actors are all terribly insecure.
yeah. I mean,
they're all terribly insecure, and we're all convinced we're never going to work again. Never. Yeah.
Do you still find that, or do you find now you're like a lot further down from where you started that you don't have that as much, or do you still
get
it?
Have I graduated?
Yeah,
no,
that's a good way
I
of
have
putting
not.
it, yeah.
I haven't graduated yet. And Tom Skerritt actually on Picket Fences told me a great thing at one point. He said, "When you think you're great, when you think you're good enough, that's when you're done. That's when you're done. That's when you should quit, because then you stop improving."
Very,
So-
very good advice.
Yeah.
That is good advice.
Yeah.
Never feel confident in what you do.
Never. It's not a good thing.
So if you had those actors to look up to and to lead you on, going back to the marine biology stuff and the environmentalism, is there anyone that you look up to in that side of things? Any authors or documentarians or anything like that that got you interested in that side, or was it just a fascination with?
No, I was born in San Diego where there is SeaWorld. And so I was very drawn to it at a young age, and I was always around the ocean. And I actually took my son there. My oldest son I took when he was about 6, and I always thought it was this world-class experience where, we have the San Diego Zoo, we have SeaWorld, and we always think of these as world-class, experiences. And my son, who was 6 at the time, turned around to me, and we were standing over the tanks, and you could see kind of everything and everywhere they were. And he said to me, "Where do they go at night?"
Oh,
And I didn't quite understand what he said, and I said, "What do you mean? This is where they live." And he goes, "Well, they can't just stay here. It's not big enough." And I was like, and the hair stood up on the back of my neck, and I felt like a horrible parent. Wasn't the first time, won't be the last. And I realized he, in that generation, just has a keener sense of right and wrong, and where these animals should be and how they should live and how they should not be utilized for people's entertainment of all things. And so, it was my son who completely changed my point of view on the whole thing. And then Blackfish, the movie, the documentary, came out, a couple years later, and you could see the inner workings of SeaWorld and how horrible of a life it is, a daily life for the whales. And I was like, that little shit was right. Completely right. Which I try not to tell him he's right all the time, but he already thinks he is.
I like to think you
right.
went into his bedroom that night and went, "You little shit, you
Little
were right."
Always right.
Right, we are going to... I'm very aware that you guys want us to ask about Charmed as well. This is the thing, there's always those...
Enough plastic in whales.
Yeah. Shut up, hippies! Tell us about the show!
Sorry.
But yeah, we will get on to Charmed and stuff. Obviously, huge at the time, but continuing to have this legacy going forward. I always ask this, are you aware of the legacy now? Were you aware of it at the time? Or did it just feel like another job when you were in it?
Yeah, when you're in it, you're kind of in this bubble, where you work 9 months a year, 5 days a week. And we just kept, it was like the grindstone. We just had to keep going, and we never knew if we were coming back, the next year. And it wasn't until it got sort of syndicated and started reaching more people at different times during the week, during the day, and different countries, that we kind of realized, oh, no, it's taking on a life of its own outside of our little mechanism. And it's still surprising. It's still surprising that it has life.
A show is big when you hear the song of it, which is a big song anyway.
Right.
And you start to see the pictures from the intro going through your head. I am...
It's so weird. It's so weird.
But yeah, that's when you know. I mean, it's an interesting, Charmed lives in a beautiful time in TV history that I put things like Buffy into that,
right.
and maybe an early point Star Trek, TNG and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's when TV's finding this big life that has now evolved into things like Netflix and Prime.
Right.
But it's what was the beginning of binge culture and stuff like that. It's these shows that people just wanted to eat up, and when DVDs came, box sets came with it and stuff. Do you find yourself quite proud that you're at that forefront of that change?
It's so weird how people don't understand the struggle. The kids don't understand the struggle now, where you had to actually wait a week for another episode.
Oh, but Picard's doing it at the moment. It's driving me crazy. I'm like, what? What do we do for a week?
Unless you're like me and you record it on VHS, right. But they've never rewind the tape until you filled it up, and then you go back, watch it all in one go.
Wow, that's almost like my plastic thing.
Yeah. You keep doing the tape over and over again until it's like wearing
Until
really
it's worn thin.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy now because, you know, people can just watch it over and over and over again in these condensed segments, and they honestly know more about it than I do.
Oh yeah, of course.
Because at this point, you know, I used to watch the dailies, I used to watch what we would film, and then I would watch it once it was put together, but there's not many episodes I've seen more than twice.
Oh really?
So I'm at a huge disadvantage right here. Huge.
I mean, it's in a weird way, that's because, fans obviously love it and like say they record it and they watch it again and again. But I guess like when you're in it, it's kind of like, if you're not in a scene with someone, it's
Right.
kind of like your friends. You don't know what they've been doing,
It's
but
blah, blah,
everyone
blah,
else
blah,
does.
blah,
Yeah.
No, it's funny, you know, because so many people, so many actors don't want to watch themselves. And I was sort of obsessed. I think it's part of why they made me a producer, is because I was so obsessed with watching every piece of film that we made.
Really?
I was super invested. I was super young. I had a lot of time on my hands.
You came on as a producer, didn't you?
I
About
did.
season 5, was it?
I think it was it 4? It was 4 or 5, I think, yeah. But you know, I was already super obsessed and invested in it and wanted to know every, you know, piece of music and everything that went into it. I was a little crazy about it.
Well, what's the experience of watching it when you're in it? Do you still get invested in the way you'd watch a show, or is it completely sort of clinical and work?
It's kind of strangely clinical. I separate myself from her, which sounds super weird. But, you know, when I'm watching it, it's like watching somebody else.
Yeah.
Not that I'm such this great actor that I've completed a whole new human character person, but I have to disassociate from any insecurities that I might have and purely look at, you know, the whole piece of the show and how it fits in and how I fit in. And if I'm doing well enough, which Tom Skerritt already taught me, I will never do well enough.
Yeah.
So really watching the film, watching the tape is just like pure torture anyway. Right. Because you can't go back and redo it.
Yeah, well, that is the other side of it, isn't
Yeah.
it? That's why a lot of people don't watch it, because
Right.
what everyone else just sees as a person
Right.
in a scene. You go, oh, why did I put my
Yeah.
ear 30 degrees to the right?
Yeah. It's terrible. Terrible.
When was the point you felt that you started to feel the sort of impact of Charmed, the sort of life it was getting? Was there a moment that you're like, oh, this has got big? Or...
You know, a strange thing, when it really occurred to me that, you know, it was a bigger thing than the WB, because the WB was a very big thing in America then with young people, sort of like the CW is now. It was when I heard my voice, or my character's voice, dubbed in French. That sounds nothing like me, by the way. Does it, right? And I think she does me in Italian, too. I think she does. It still doesn't sound like me.
Well,
but she's a lovely person. I've met her. She's a lovely person. She just doesn't sound like me.
Is that surreal, meeting the person who dubs over your... Because they must
Yeah.
look at you all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually met one of the comic book illustrators at a Comic-Con in Sicily, and she was in a panel, and she was in like the back row, and she goes, it was one of the last questions, and she goes, so what do you think about the new comic books? And I did not know who she was. And I said, you know, I think they're beautiful. I was like, I don't know when Piper got breast implants. But I wish I looked like her. And she was like, oh, that's me. I did that. And I was like, like I almost fell over.
what's your instinct there? Because if that was me, I'm so polite, I go, thank you.
Thank you. Right. She got new superpowers.
Yeah. It could have been way worse. You could have been like,
way
it's awful, I hate it.
Looks nothing like me.
Yeah, imagine that, then you get the next one, you're like, oh, I'm really upset.
Exactly.
I don't want us
Awkward.
to run out of time before we have a chance to
moment.
go to the
For sure.
audience. So,
Yeah, it's my turn
yeah.
to jump down. If you've got a question, raise your hand. If you're nearer the back, try and come this way, and we'll get to you. I'll get you going, and then we'll move up. Hi.
Hi, Holly.
Hello. Hi.
I have a question about something as I saw on an article. I'm not true or not. Is that true? You have a project with Alisa Milano to do something on Netflix?
Oh, we're
about
just going
Trump?
to jump right into it.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, no, we have been talking about it, and she has been talking to people at Netflix, and we've talked about, you know, when we were doing the episode of Grey's Anatomy, we talked about doing movies, you know, like a couple of movies.
That was very
kind of spread-
professionally.
Thank you.
I'm gonna.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Kind of, you know, spread apart, but a series of movies, like a mini series. Do we still have those?
Yeah.
Or it's just a 6-episode binge watch. No, we're gonna make you wait for it. There's gonna be like 2 a year, and that's it.
Yeah. Massive cliffhangers between.
Yes.
Yeah.
How would it be? Like 10 years later or something like that? Or you don't want to?
How long has it been? Don't answer that. Yeah.
Oh,
We could
like,
say 10.
You mean chronologically?
Since it's been 13, we could shave off a few. 10 would be good.
I mean, for example, in what time? Would it be like 10 years later after their original chart or something like that?
Yeah. Since it's been 13 or 14, I agree that 10 is good. I agree.
With that, so I love this because we're in an era where a lot of the shows we love now come back. I love the shows where they let the characters live between.
Oh, yeah.
Have you, without details or anything, do you have something in your head that's like, do you have that life mapped out that we haven't seen
Yes.
yet?
I've already gotten divorced from Leo for something very serious. And neighbor Dan is involved.
I mean, I'm sure that fan fiction already exists, but
It does. It does. I've stolen it.
we had another question somewhere around here. Oh, lovely! Yeah, come forward so we can see a great bow and arrow as well.
What is your favorite episode in Charmed?
My favorite one, I always say the same one because it is my favorite. I always want to come up with a new one more. You know which one I really liked was, I liked Awakening, I liked Brain Drain. I liked that one a lot because I got to play a crazy person, even though everybody around me was really crazy. And then I liked Sword in the City was one of my favorites because I got to play with the sword. They didn't give me a lot of weapons, you know, so when I got one, it was exciting.
So if she came back, weapons.
Yes.
That's another thing that
She
needs to
gets
be.
weapons.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, yeah.
and a car, but like a cool car. A cool car, like a supernatural car.
Oh, like,
A supernatural car with
No more
weapons.
Jeeps.
yeah.
No more green Jeeps.
You also said they didn't give me weapons, like it wasn't the character they didn't trust.
Yeah, no, they wouldn't give me weapons.
Okay, Holly.
I can put it down.
Yeah, if you want to if you can let this lovely lady through. Oh, look at that. You're like Moses then. Great work. Hello.
Hi, Holly.
Hi.
What's the difference between you, like Holly, and your Bible? And character, maybe in life rules? Or what's a similar thing?
There's not a lot of differences after this long. She's far more organized than I am. No, that's not true. Because her kitchen was a little messy. But she lived with her sisters, and they were messier, so I blame them. What else? We're very similar, and now we're both juggling family. Like, I have far too many kids. She had far too many family members. That must have been a really big house. That's what I'm saying. I need a bigger house, like her house, because it's crowded.
Yes, and then we'll come down the line. Hello.
Hi, Holly. Did you know why there was no episode of Charm crossover and Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Why was there no Charmed and Buffy crossover episode?
I asked for it. See? And that's the problem. When I ask for something, they say no. Ask for it. Yes, I am. That's all right. I'll take the blame because it was my idea. I really wanted that. Or an angel one. I think I asked for angel too.
Angel would have worked really
You know?
well.
And I still keep trying to get on Supernatural and they won't return my calls. I don't know why.
I would have loved that.
Because they don't give me the weapons.
Which is the show you'd love to cross over into the most?
You know, the show that I was into most recently was Game of Thrones, but I would never want to be on there because people either die or they're naked all the time, and I don't want to do either.
Charm Game of Thrones crossover. Who would Piper? Which god would she have? Which like worship for her powers?
Oh my God, she'd have to blow up everything. It's so violent.
I think you'd be like the Red Witch. I think you'd be in that.
No, she's here. Okay, she's super scary. Okay,
I've got a really good camera on my phone. We can make this happen.
she's super scary.
Yeah, who was down this way? I'll come. Hello.
Hi, and welcome to Belgium.
Thank you.
I was wondering because at the time I remember there weren't very many shows like Charmed with magic or supernatural things, and I was wondering when you first got the script, how you felt about it, what your impression was, and also how you got involved with the show.
You know, it was really hard at that time because special effects were just kind of burgeoning, and it was sort of left up to your imagination. When you read the scripts, and depending on how good or bad your imagination is, it could be really terrifying. When you read scripts and you're like, how are they going to do this? Is this going to look like crap? Because it could. And you know, a lot of our special effects we had never done before. Nobody had attempted before. Nobody did the glowy things on Brian's hand. And you know, originally it was actual light bulbs. It was really, yeah, it was dangerous.
Very hot as well. They weren't LEDs in those days.
Oh my God, we're so old. So old. Like, yeah, that means time is up. The boat is
Sorry,
coming.
the Titanic's just coming in.
The Titanic is sinking. But yeah, he had little light bulbs on his fingers and they were taped, and sometimes he'd be like this.
Is that why he got the role?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, he's the guy. And literally, like, okay, I don't want to say he has sweaty palms, but sometimes the tape would stop and they'd just hang down and they'd fall down, and I'd be like, oh. It was so.
Oh, my magic's failing.
My magic is drooping. No, it was so manual. It was so very manual. But later we learned how to do that with computers, and it was less clumsy for all of us. You know, it was really weird to think about it. It's like we're talking about a show that was done in the 1920s, but it's like, you know, when we did the split screen where we would have to freeze someone, I would have to freeze someone, everybody would have to freeze, and then that one person on the split side of the screen, we had to have like a middle line, would have to, like, everybody freeze, and then that one person would step out like this. It was so awkward.
It's like Naked Gun.
To be on screen like this, and like somebody's walking. It's so bizarre. So I give us a lot of credit for making it believable, because half the time we were just trying not to laugh, and there's very many scenes, you know, when I look back, if I catch it, like, for some reason in America the show always shows on gyms, TVs.
Shows on my gym all the time.
It's so wrong.
I've ran towards you so many times.
That's
when
why
I saw you just got really sweaty.
I run out of the gyms when I see me. It's the greatest excuse not to go.
Little tip for anyone else who has it in the gym, it's a really beautiful moment. You can stop your treadmill and stand on it, and you just slowly distance your, it's like, come back.
Yeah, those were basically our special effects.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
And I've got light bulbs attached to my hands, it's great. On that, with you guys, because you were, like, again, Buffy's the same era, you and Buffy and on those shows, you are pioneering those digital effects, so, like, you really are testing them out. It's incredible, like, because there must have been that sense, like, someone going, well, it's working, I don't know.
Yeah, totally. That was our special effects department. And prop department going, I don't know. You know, and thankfully, it improved through the years, but there's still some scenes that I'll catch and go like, I mean, it looks like Land of the Lost, you know, the 70s, awful. And that was the one reason I was really personally invested in redoing it, and I was like, because the special effects are so much better now. I needed some redemption.
It would be incredible, because again, Star Trek's a good comparison. When you look at Next Generation, which is just before you guys, And you look at the reboots now.
Yeah.
Tom with that sort of gear behind it. Incredible. Yeah. We're gonna just wrap up in a second. Does anyone have any questions they are burning to ask? Yes?
Burning.
I've got someone lifting it. Hello.
Hi, Holly. Hello. What's the funniest thing that you ever experienced in your career on a set?
The funniest thing? Well, the most ridiculous thing comes to mind when we were doing the last episode. We had exploded the house, which was actually a really poignant, sort of sad event for us because we actually did explode the house. Like, it wasn't like a fake house, like the real house is fine, and here's the fake house we blew up. No, we actually blew it up. Like, our producers were like, we're never coming back.
Wait, not a model or something?
No, we like, they had to burn down, like burn the witches. They had to burn down the real house. And so when we walked into the stage, it was kind of like, you know, it's a big building like this, and then we built the house in the middle of it. And we were kind of like, oh, this is for real.
Was that quite sad to watch?
It was super strange to walk in and just have it flattened like that. So then, of course, they take me, the pregnant lady, because I was about 3 months pregnant with my second son, and they're like, you, get down there. I'm like, what? And they said, just get down, you come up, you find Phoebe dead, and so I get down on the ground, because the whole house has exploded, and then I feel them, you know, granted this is 8 years later, they're really not that kind to me anymore. They're super used to me. They're like, I'll see you at the bar later. And they put me down, and they go, this is just gonna be on for a second and it'll turn off. And I was like, what does that mean? And they put a whole bunch of wood on me and they set it on fire. And I was like, why are we setting the pregnant lady on fire?
Just someone snuck on set. I'm gonna get me these witches.
Yeah, burn the witches. I was like, seriously? It's a little too on the nose. Like, I know you don't need me anymore, but really? Yeah, so they buried me and set me on fire. It's okay. I got up just fine.
I love it if that wasn't in the show. If that was just, yeah.
Right, they cut like to the last second smolder of it. It's just a little smoke. Yeah. It's for their own personal fun.
Yeah.
Just before we let you go,
Wouldn't
I
be
would
surprised.
love to ask, because we talked about the idea of like coming back and stuff, but also, like I said before, the legacy of Charmed is huge, and you should be very proud of it, but are you also very proud that you're at a time where you've done a show about not only family members, but female-led family members, and they're powerful, and it's never something where you get so many shows like, we're gonna have a thing, it's just allowed to be, and I imagine that has influenced so many people who have now become adults and stuff, who saw you guys and stuff like that. That must be a beautiful feeling. I imagine you get fans coming up going, thank you gave me something I didn't see on TV and stuff.
Yeah.
Is that quite a warm, nice feeling?
It is, you know, and I attribute it to Aaron Spelling, who always said, you know, he wanted the show to be about a family and sisters who happen to be witches, and, you know, not witches who happen to be sisters. And so it was very much by his own design. And, you know, and I think us, the three of us and then the four of us, just as individual, you know, people and women, really wanted to be represented in a way that was true to us. And so that was important to us. And we were lucky enough to have all three and four of us agree to that.
Yeah.
And it just kind of came through, but it wasn't, you know, it wasn't like on purpose. It wasn't for hashtag purposes. It was just, you know, it was like it was our strength and individuality coming out because we wanted to do something good that people could relate to, and we didn't anticipate this level, but I'm glad it worked.
And we are very glad it as well. And again, it's probably the best place to sort of end on the fact that it's nice to hear that it's not something orchestrated, it's something organic, and it's something.
It really was.
It's something that, I'm glad it became what it did when you look out there.
Yeah.
We are going to let you go.
Thank you.
Holly is here all for the rest of the day. Please do go see her. Didn't even have to ask him. We're just going to get a picture, if that's okay, with everyone behind us.